I want to start with this FSU ring situation. I don't know if you've seen, FSU they're basically ACC championship rings. Okay? They say 13-0, unconquered. You won the state of Florida, which you did, right? You beat every team that you played in Florida. And people are upset because it doesn't say 13-1. All right? I think it has 16 stones on it for the amount of ACC championships that Florida State has won. Here's why I don't have a problem with it, Tom. Number one, regardless of what anybody thinks, you went undefeated and got screwed out of the playoff. And I've seen people say, oh, well, it was the right decision. I had a Michigan fan saying that it's pathetic they're doing this. If Michigan would have got left out of the playoff because J.J. McCarthy got hurt, they would have been bitching and complaining just as much as Florida State did. But at the end of the day, we got bowl rings for playing in the Camellia Bowl at South Alabama, right? And we lost the bowl game. You get bowl rings. Those rings apparently were ordered before the Orange Bowl game. I have no problem with conference championship rings, especially when you got screwed out of the 14 playoff after going undefeated.
I have no problem with it either. Absolutely no problem with it. Could you do it without the record being on the ring? Yeah. But if it's reflective of the regular season, I have no issue.
Yeah.
Would it say 14-0 if they had beaten Georgia?
See, that's a hypothetical.
I would say 14-0.
That's a good call.
No, you know what?
I don't care.
I actually don't.
Listen to the Michigan man.
Yeah.
I grew up in Florida State.
I actually don't. I think they would have gotten a separate Orange Bowl ring. You'd have probably just turned it into 2 rings instead of
Michigan gave out 4 rings
well,
at spring game. They
Auburn,
got 4 rings.
Auburn got an undefeated ring in 2004. Like this. People get rings for everything nowadays. I'm saying you get bowl ring. Like this isn't some.
Arkansas got one when they went 7-6.
Went 7-6.
Remember? It was just as big as the championship ring, Tom.
But I do think
that's excessive. That's excessive.
That's over the line to quote the Big Lebowski. But no, like UCF. I think there's a difference in UCF claiming a national championship and then Florida State getting 13-0.
They put it on their stadium.
Yeah,
they acted like it was real.
Yeah. It's like, no, you didn't. Well, it reminds me of Chris Farley on Billy Madison when he's a bus driver talking about the teacher. And he's like, me and her. And he's like, no, you didn't. He's like, well, you can imagine what it'd be like. But Tom,
it's so true.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that. I don't think you do either. Anybody that knows how this works, I don't think has a problem with it. Kind of shifting, I want to stay in college football. Seems like Derek Dooley, and I think Chris Vanny put this out. Vanini, I'm probably pronouncing that wrong.
Derek Dooley.
Yeah, Derek Dooley.
Wow.
He couldn't win his way out of a paper bag at Tennessee. Wants to start a group of 5 college football playoff. And Luke's, I'm here for it. You're not going to South Alabama or Georgia Southern or these group of 5 teams. You're not winning a national championship. You're just not. I don't care if you make the playoff. This isn't basketball. This isn't baseball, right? So are you for a group of 5 college football playoff? And does that mean that we're going to have an official split, which we all know is going to happen, between the Power 5 and the group of 5?
Not only am I for it, I'm also for not having an automatic bid for a group of 5 team in the college football playoff. It's not the same level of football. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It's not. And it's not an indictment or a reflection of you as a program. What it is reality in terms of resources. There is a difference between Power 5, Group of 5, because we're not playing with the same deck of cards. And when people talk about, oh, well, they went undefeated. Okay, so-and-so went undefeated. If you ask that team to play Arkansas's schedule or Wisconsin's schedule, and I'm not just talking about the teams they'd have to play every single week. I'm talking about the environments. We would not be talking about an undefeated team. And so now you're going to say, or a fan is going to say, well, you don't know that. Actually, I do know that.
Yeah, I do know that.
Have you looked at TCU and Utah? Go back to TCU and Utah's record, their last 3 years at the group of 5 level, all right? Then look at their first 2 years at the Power 5 level. And I might be getting this wrong depending upon the team. Either Utah or TCU, one of them was 33-6 and the other was 36-3. If you look at their record when they made the transition to the Power 5, they were under 500.
Yeah. Look at Cincinnati this past year. Look at Cincinnati since they did it. And here's Tom, the best way, and I think we can all agree on this. Again, multiple things can be true at once. I feel like I say that all the time, but I feel like I have to because we pigeonhole ourselves on one side or the other sometimes when we don't have to. Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. Jim's Bait Shop, and I know this isn't a real place, in Statesboro can do really well. It can be a perfect fit for Statesboro. It can have a lot of success. It can be a winner. You're not going to outdo Walmart in downtown Atlanta. You're not going to make more money than them. You're just not. It's an impossibility.
We'll outdo Walmart in Statesboro.
Yeah, well, yeah,
everybody's there.
Yeah, no, like it's again, but that doesn't mean that Jim's Bait Shop doesn't need to exist. That doesn't mean that Jim's Bait Shop can't win an award for great service and having success and excelling as a business. They're just in two different operating spheres. Now, you have the capability, right, if you're a Cincinnati, to become that. Jim's Bait Shop doesn't have the capability to become Walmart. It's just the way the world works. Again, two things can be true at once. Two things can be great at once in their own way.
Well, the reactions yesterday were fairly split when this news came out. And like one faction of people, Tom, was saying, well, this would be bad for the group of five. I mean, they need to go to bowl games in December. They need to be able to compete for those spots. And I disagree because like he's talking about with Statesboro, that's where I grew up. I grew up watching Irk Russell lead Georgia Southern to 1 AA national championships. That to me was more exciting. Exactly. Tracy Ham, all of them. Adrian Peterson, the Adrian Peterson before the one everybody knows about. The coaches we've had on for group of five are fairly split on this, right? And then far be it.
Well, I think that's an ego thing.
But I would like for that's a good point. True. That's why I think we should bring on the athletic directors and see, because I would like to know the financials. What is more financially beneficial to the program?
You can still go to bowls. Why are we saying they can't have bowls?
Yeah. We could repurpose these bowls for the group of five playoff.
Well, the interesting, it's the offshoots off of this, right? The first thing you say is, all right, if we have our own group of five playoff, does the group of five need to play the Power Five during the regular season? And if not, how do we make up for that loss of revenue that some of these smaller schools that get these big checks to go play the bigger schools get? Is that some sort of rev share that everybody gets through a group of five playoff? Which I think, and this is just me selfishly as a fan, I would love to have a Power Five playoff, a group of five playoff, an FCS playoff, a D2 playoff, and high school playoffs, plus NFL playoffs. That's more great football for me to watch. And I think everybody can win. I think an answer can maybe play in a group of five team in the spring that may be from your same state and you split the gate on that or something like that. Those are the questions, Tom, to me.
Well, why would you not allow a group of five teams to play Power Five teams? We allow SCS teams to play Power Five teams.
Here's why. Because if you split the Power Five and the group of five, we're going to super leagues. All right, we know where we're heading. We're barreling toward that. So if you put 24 teams in one conference, they're not going to add regular season games plus adding playoff games because they pigeon themselves in this player safety situation. We saw this in the NFL when they added games to the regular season. So where do you rob Peter to pay Paul? You say, that's fine. We have 20. The more teams you add in a conference, right? I don't think you have to be a mathematician to realize the more games you're probably going to have to play against teams in that conference. And I think we go to a full 12-game in-conference schedule of Power Five teams, which I would love that. That's better games for me as a fan. That's more better games. So I just feel like that's where we're headed. I feel like the natural bouncing of the balls has taken us there, but I mean, who the hell knows, Tom? I mean, would you like that?
Well, it's like, I would. It's very, when you talk about revenue, because that's what ultimately this would all come down to.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
You would have to figure out how to make up the revenue that you would generally be getting when you play a Power Five team in the regular season, and that fee that you would get. How do you make that up if you don't have it? I think that's basically what we're talking about here, and that fee and that cost is a big deal. And you're right. You could do it through spring football. I think that's a great way to do it. But you could also, I think, if you did a playoff structure and you still would have a bowl structure too, there would be a lot of revenue that would come in from a group of five playoff. If you sat there and said, okay, we're going to have an 8-team playoff or whatever it would be, people would watch and there would be tons of ad revenue. Tons.
Yeah. Well, and there's one word we didn't bring up, and that's relegation. Like, is that another avenue? Is that another avenue?
Soccer on me.
What's up, everybody? Hey, thanks for stopping by. If you haven't, we'd really appreciate it if you subscribe to the show. It helps out. Please turn that notification bell on as well. We really appreciate you guys. The Booster Club is elite.